Hello YouTube, so this is more of an unexpected vlog rather than a planned out video. Broken down this morning, just set off for work and I was driving along, went to brake and there was a sudden popping noise and my brake pedal just went straight to the floor and I carried on rolling. It was a little bit hairy actually, but I used my handbrake to stop gradually. So I'm only just around the corner from my house. I should really stop and call for a breakdown recovery, but I'm not going to wait 2 hours for somebody to come and tow me just round the block home. So I'm going to very gently limp home in a low gear with my hazards on. And I'm not advising anyone does this, of course. If your brakes fail, stop driving immediately. But I'm going to be a little bit naughty here and we'll investigate as soon as I get back. So made it home fine, and a couple of noteworthy things. First of all, my brakes seem to be working again fine. Which surprised me because I thought I'd burst a hydraulic leak somewhere, hence the pedal going all the way to the floor. Secondly, there's like a metal clunking noise, so because I heard a loud popping noise and it suddenly failed and there's now a metal clunking noise, it suggests that maybe something has snapped somewhere, maybe part of a caliper or a bracket somewhere, something like that. But still, I've checked for hydraulic leaks. That's the first thing I've done. So I've checked all around the master cylinder here and all the lines that I can see all around the wheels and the brake calipers. I can't see any fluid anywhere, so I think this is highly unlikely that it's a hydraulic leak. So it is more likely to be something that's snapped. So I'm going to jack up each wheel in turn and rotate them, see if I can locate which wheel the clunking noise is coming from. Offside rear seems fine. Near side rear seems fine. So the offside front obviously has got some sort of problem here. So I'm going to secure this properly with stands. So something here is wrong and I'll show you as soon as I've figured out what it is. Okay, so I think I've figured out what the problem is. First of all, the caliper looks fine other than the rust. There's no hydraulic leaks around the piston or anything like that. Nothing out of the ordinary. But if you move over to the pads here, so the inner pad all looks fine. There's actually a lot of pad left on this, which is why I haven't replaced them. But if you go to the outer pad, this is down to completely bare metal. There's zero pad on that at all. It's even started to shear off some of the metal structure of it there, and I actually found this extra little bit of brake pad which was knocking around inside the rotor here. That's what probably was making the clunking noise as I was driving, this just rattling around. So I think my brake pad disintegrated when I was driving. I think this was a perfectly full pad there, or similar to that, and it just would have suddenly disintegrated with these parts flying everywhere. And because of the sudden change in width that caused, the caliper had a lot of play, which is why my pedal went to the floor. as the system was readjusting itself, but after a few pumps it managed to close the piston up and readjust itself, which is why it was squeaking when I was turning it, because it was pressing the bare metal onto the bare metal. So yeah, a disintegrated brake pad. So nice new set of pads there. I've got them for both sides, and you can see a good amount of pad on the insides of them. Just to compare, the old ones here, that's the existing one and that's the one that's completely vanished. So yeah, I'm also going to take the bolts out of the sliding pin bolts out. They'll pop off. There we go. I'm going to clean that up and put some silicone grease in there. So the new pads are a lot thicker than the old pads, and as you press your brake pedal, the piston here comes out and it adjusts itself to the pads that it has, so it's kind of self-adjusting. So we need to push the piston back to the maximum open position. You can't do that by hand, you need to do it with some sort of tool. You can just use a G-clamp on most brake calipers, although do your research, because some calipers do require a special tool like this, which is like a wind back tool, or you can damage your caliper. I don't have a G-clamp, but I do have a wind back tool, even though I don't need a wind back tool. But I'm going to use it anyway just to push the piston back in. And when you do this, it's going to be pushing hydraulic fluid back up the hydraulic cable, which could spill out from the master cylinder here. So what you want to do is take the cap off your master cylinder and place sort of a rag around here, ready to catch any fluid that's going to be overspilling from here. So I'm going to put a rag there, and I'm going to figure out how to get this tool pushing that piston back inwards. So we've managed to push the piston pretty much all the way back. Hopefully we'll have enough room now for the pads. And this level has risen almost to the top, but not quite spilled out, so that's pretty lucky. And so we can take this tool off now and have a go at putting the pads in. Hopefully there's enough room for them. So just going to put a little bit of copper grease on the back of the pads here. So both pads are lined up, greased on the back, and the piston's got plenty of clearance there. So I'm going to swing this back into position there and then put the final pin back in the top there and tighten it up. Okay, so that's all fit. Let's refit. There's a little bit of play still because the piston is more open than it needs to be, and the way to get around that is to pump the brake pedal a few times. And while you're doing that, make sure you keep an eye on this. The worst case scenario here is if this level gets lower to the point where air bubbles start going in, because then we've got to bleed the whole hydraulic system, which is an absolute nightmare, especially since I haven't got any brake fluid. Oop. Don't do that. So let's give the brakes a pump or two. Okay, that's hit something solid now, so that took 4 pumps. Fluid has only gone down a little bit there, which is fine. And we should see that this, yeah, there's no movement there. And that's actually locked a little bit, but they'll be fine once I start driving, it'll all loosen up. So that's all done. I've done that on this side. Of course, I've got to do the exact same on the opposite side now. So I'm just out for a test drive, and brakes seem to be working absolutely fine. I will have to run them in for 100 miles or so with them being new pads, but that's normal. And just goes to show how much money you can save if you are willing to have a go at fixing things yourself. When I woke up this morning and my brakes failed, so tempting just to phone the local garage and pay somebody else to fix it for you, but I pushed past that and I ended up saving a lot of money and also learning as I go along, and I really enjoyed it in the end actually. So that's my whole philosophy. I think any able-bodied person should buy themselves at least a basic set of tools and have a go at fixing things yourself before you just pay somebody else to do it. Can't always fix them. I very often give up and take my van to a garage, but I always give it a go first. Cheers.